everybody and welcome back to another Sunday Sessions video. If you're new to the channel and you don't know what this series is, then pretty much it's where me and Luke, we run through the markets every single weekend, showing you the best upcoming opportunities that we are seeing and what our bias is within those markets for the coming week, in hope that you can see how we're mapping out to tackle that market, and therefore you can potentially take some factors away and implement that into your own trading strategy and own analysis. So I'm going to be starting off here on the euro to the US dollar, and we can see that we're recently just having a tap into a higher time frame point of interest. So looking inside of here, we see that ever since we had the tap and reversal from this major zone all the way up here, we have since then been trading bearish for, how long is that now? About 22 months, I would say, 23 months. And throughout that course, we've obviously been creating bearish structure, breaking the lows, protecting the highs, so on and so forth. As of recent, though, we have come to break that downtrend, that bearish structure that we had been following for so long, which happened around the start of November. And we see that since then, price has been continuing higher, trading up towards this zone, where we see that as it has approached the zone, we see the market curving off. Now, this is obviously going to be an indication that demand is running short, that the institutions are starting to absorb some of it, whilst at the same time we are seeing supply starting to get introduced. So, as right now, we are working within this as the most recent impulse, and therefore there is still every chance that price may react to this demand zone and continue bullishness. However, on the lower time frames, we see that we have had price holding in this area, rejecting from the area, and we've recently had that break of structure to the downside where we're now reacting to supply. So what we need to see is, yes, we can start getting involved now in sell positions, but we need to be careful as price approaches this demand zone in order to try and figure out what price wants to do longer term. Now, if we reach this demand zone and we see rejection, we see price starting to break to the upside, we know potentially we aren't ready to reverse longer term, and therefore longer term sell positions are not about to be introduced into the market. If, however, we see price trade into this, it falls through, there is not much demand introduced from the top of this zone, then we therefore know that price should continue lower longer term, and we can start looking to edge in on many sell positions to trade price all the way down to penetrate that previous low in the market, which is some, if we check now, 1,100 pips away from price as of current. So a lot of downside potential in the market there. During this week, I'm just going to be identifying current structure, looking inside of that for any supply zones, watching how it reacts to this demand zone, and then seeing how to tackle it moving forward. Now, the next market that we will take a look at is the pound yen, as this is another market I've been watching quite closely for some time now. And if we go to the 4 hour, we can see that after the major one-day reaction, we had a move higher. Price came down, protected the low. We then came to liquidate the high. But then since then, we've had some bearishness emerging from the region, which seems to be a very high volume. Now, upon extensive analysis, I'm seeing that inside of here, there's actually nowhere else below price left to be mitigated. Therefore, I believe this is going to be an indication that price is ready to go bearish slightly longer term. Now, this would make sense as a result of the fact that when we did see this reversal, the moves higher in this region have been done with very diminished volume and spread. You know, we see that the moves up are not very volatile. Therefore, there's not a whole load of demand in the market. Therefore, it's pretty unlikely the market's going to be able to continue trading as higher to liquidate this overall high. So if price then decides it wants to come lower, we see that we do actually have two zones all the way down here that price may want to come to react to if it starts to liquidate these regions. So the bias being is that this should be bearish for some time now, until we reach around that 157.55, which means that on the lower time frame, we can potentially look inside of here, where we see we've had a recent tap of a supply zone. Okay, if we go low enough, we can then see, we can actually refine that firstly to this right here. And then as price is taken away, is traded away, we can now look inside of here and say, well, is there anywhere else we would like to see mitigated before price continues lower? Now, in this time frame, there's nothing too obvious. Let's go slightly lower once again. And it appears that we have quite an obvious buy to sell in that region, which comes to mitigate the previous candle and then sustains the entire down move. So that's definitely a supply zone to keep your eye on, around that 167.018. And then the expectation is that if we can find some sell positions, we can look to edge in on those and hold them longer term until all the way down here, which is what, maybe from price as of right now, 800 plus pips, I believe. If we actually draw that out, yeah, 800 pips. So again, with this market, a lot of downside potential as of right now. Finally, we will take a look at Australian dollar, US dollar, where it has been slightly misleading for me personally in terms of my analysis, because obviously we saw the major reversal here. We saw a break of structure in price, which I assumed was going to be the major reversal in this region. We see that we had a reaction to one supply zone. We managed to get involved in a position. Price traded up, showed signs of reversing from the next zone, where we see quite a clear distribution, break of structure to the downside, but then the fundamental news brought a high volume move to liquidate all of that, where we've since then seen a reversal, another move lower, and therefore we're going to assume once again that this could be the point where bearishness takes over, supply is in control, and therefore I have these three zones, all of which represent valid unmitigated regions that I would like to see price come up to, mitigate before reversing lower. Like the previous markets, we have a lot of downside potential if the reversal happens here, because we're working within this structure, and therefore from price as of right now, we are still 500 pips away from the downside target. So hopefully, in the case of pretty much all of those, especially Euro USD and this one here, we want to see the US dollar continuing with strength, continuing to appreciate in value, whereas we also want to see the euro on the Australian dollar depreciating in value to also aid that move that is coming alongside this. Now, those are the three major markets I'll be watching. The last one that we could potentially take a quick look at is gold, because we've had a recent reaction from a demand zone. Now, this is not a zone I had previously identified, as I did not see it as relevant. And it wasn't until I saw price reversing and reacting in this region that I thought, okay, well, maybe I should go back, look inside of here, see if there's anything that price has reacted to. And we can see quite a clear sell to buy region. The price has come down to, reacted from, giving us some breaks to the upside, and therefore we may expect continued bullishness from this point in order for us to profit longer term. Now, obviously, since this break of structure, I believe we are going to be bullish for a very, very long time, targeting this zone all the way up here. If not, we could just continue higher for a long time to come. And therefore, again, if we get involved in any positions in this market, we can expect to hold those longer term, as we are in quite a pivotal point. But we need to see how price reacts. We need to see continued reactions to demand, continued bullish structure where we can find those entries. If not, we must also be aware that there are still a couple of demand zones left unmitigated that price may need to come and tap and react to. Therefore, if we do start seeing price break down, we know that it could be for the purpose of mitigating these zones lower, which is where we would then look for price to tap in, find the reversal, find an accumulation, and start edging in on buy positions from there. So hopefully that gives a clear walkthrough of my bias on a few markets there, pretty much targeting a few of the major Forex pairs, expecting some big moves in these coming weeks. Obviously, volume and volatility will diminish over the festive period, and we can expect that no major moves will happen until we start entering the new trading year. However, if we can start edging in and loading up on positions now, it means that we can get involved early, and then as soon as that new trading year comes and brings the volume and volatility alongside with it, it means we're already in on our positions. And as those markets potentially move off in our desired direction, we can then look to profit for quite a while to come. Regardless, that is going to conclude my section of the Sunday sessions video this week. Hopefully you've all enjoyed the analysis I've provided, and I'm now going to pass you over to Luke, who's going to go and do the same.
Thank you, James, for the analysis there. What I'm going to do now is go over some of the pairs that I'm looking at trading this coming week as we go into the festive season. the volume and volatility that we see in the markets definitely lessens. So trading opportunities aren't going to be there as often. What I'm going to do is run through the 4 pairs that I'm looking at. So we've got Euro USD, XAU USD, AUD USD, and Great British Pound to the US dollar. Give you my bias, give you some zones that you can work with, and then hopefully you guys can play some positions using my analysis to help guide you when placing positions this coming week. So the first pair we're looking at today is the Euro US dollar. As we can see evidently on screen, this market is very much bearish. We are within a bearish market. At the moment, we are within a corrective phase, so price is putting in some bullish structure. So with that being said, we can look to buy into this market before we sell longer term. But evidently, we want to be selling in this market longer term, as that is the prevailed trend. Now, the current trend is, as I said, bullish. We are within a corrective phase on the higher time frame structure, so we can look for those buying opportunities. You'll see on screen that I have a potential buy zone here that price could trail back to on a higher time frame scheme, tap into, and then provide us with new bullish structure. I've also found a fractal demand zone for you all. So if you want to highlight this zone for yourself, mark out these coordinates, you'll see that it is just from the initial impulse that took us higher into this market. This is just on the 30-minute time frame. And if you also want to highlight this zone as well, by all means do so. So when we see price trail into one of 2 zones, as soon as we see price reject from this zone, a break of structure to the upside and the deliverance of bullishness, we can then look to get introduced into this market in buy positions, as that would tell us that enough demand has been introduced into these markets to actually go on and create its next impulsive wave. Now, in terms of a take profit target, I have this supply zone up here as my take profit target. Let's just go to the higher time frames. We'll see here I've got my higher time frame point of interest, this supply zone. So again, mark this out for yourself. This is on the 4-hour time frame. Mark this zone out for yourself. This could be your take profit target, because from here, what I want to see is price tap into this, penetrate, have the deliverance of supply, and flip the supply and demand balance in favor of supply. This would basically conclude the current bullish corrective phase and start the next higher time frame impulsive phase, which is obviously a bearish leg. So I've given you 2 zones there to look for potential buys, and then you've got yourself a take profit target for those buy positions, but also an area that we can look to sell from as well in this market. So it will definitely be interesting to see how price plays this coming week. But yeah, definitely be looking for those buy opportunities. Moving over to XAU USD. Again, this is another market that is bearish overall, but we have seen some bullishness being introduced. We are within a corrective phase again with this market. And this is the same across the board, just because the US dollar is our quote currency for every pair that we are looking at. So we are seeing that all these other currencies are appreciating at the moment. Price is increasing in these base currencies just because they're within a corrective phase. Okay, so we have seen structure break to the upside. Price has broken structure on the day time frame here and here as well. This was the last structural high, and then this was the previous structural high. We've seen price break and surpass both of these highs. So this tells me that bullishness is still underway. Okay. We may see a slight correction before a continuation in bullishness, but I am adamant that price will trail up into one of 2 zones here before delivering us with its next impulsive wave that should take us lower than these swing lows here around 16.26. So I had a take profit target for sell positions around 17.03 because I know that that is a guaranteed take profit hit. But realistically, we could be looking for take profit targets around 16.25, 16.24 once we are delivered with a confirmation that this bullish correction is finished and the next impulsive wave taking us lower is underway. Again, coming into the markets this coming week, we can look for buy opportunities. So we just want to see some kind of bearish fractal correction, price to trail bearish, tap into a demand zone, deliver us with the confirmation of a continuation in bullishness, and then we can look to get introduced, okay? And then just to remember, we have these 2 supply zones higher up that we want to use as our take profit target. So we could look within this fractal structure for any unmitigated last sell to buy candles. for areas that price could trail into before delivering us with its next impulse. Now looking here, it looks as though we have a last sell to buy region here. This has been left unmitigated, so we could actually look to buy into the XAU USD market from this zone here. So this zone I'm going to highlight out for you all now. So mark this zone out for yourselves. This is on the 15-minute time frame. Highlight this last sell to buy region. Again, this could be an area that we could potentially buy from. So we would want to see price trail down and into this. We'd want to see a penetration of this zone, price to then deliver us with a break of structure to the upside. So for this correction to be broken, as that would then instigate and tell us that the next bullish impulse is ready to take place and take us higher into this market. We would obviously have our stop loss just below the swing low that's created, and then we could have our final take profit target set at either these swing highs, or if you wanted to really stretch your take profit target, we could have it set all the way up here around the 1875 region. Okay, this being the first higher time frame supply zone that I've got highlighted. Heading over to AUD USD, this is a market that we have been waiting weeks and weeks and weeks for an opportunity to sell into this market. Just last week we were delivered with a confirmation to actually sell into this market finally. So we had the penetration of the point of interest. We then had a low created within the market, and then we also had a lower high created. Once we had the lower high and then we had a fractal break of structure, I got myself introduced into this market. I was quite impulsive and I was quite preemptive with my sell position, but I was adamant that price was going to trade us lower, and thankfully it did. Now, how can we look to get involved in this market this coming week? Well, obviously I have two positions running nearly 200 pips in profit, but I do want to see price come back up, put in a fractal correction into one of two supply zones that I've got highlighted here before delivering us with a new impulsive wave lower. We have had a 1 hour break of structure, which confirms further bearishness, so we can expect price to come as low as this low here before giving us any problems or any signs that bullishness may be underway. But as you can see here, we are seeing this bearishness slow down, and I am expecting price to actually start trailing us higher into one of two supply zones. So if you haven't done already, mark out these two supply zones for yourself. Again, these are last buy to sell regions which have been left unmitigated, and we have a lot of inefficiency in the market as well. So price should come up to clear these before trading any lower. So highlight these zones out for yourself, wait for price to tap in. As soon as we have the rejection and a continuation of bearishness, that's when we can look to get reintroduced into this market with further sell positions. But definitely a bearish market. We could potentially look for buys before the sells. We would just need a confirmation of bullishness, or of this bullish correction, to be present. As soon as we have that confirmation, we can look to buy before we sell. But we would need, I would say, this structural high here to be broken before I would even look to potentially place shorter term buy positions before I sell longer term. Finally, moving over to Great British Pound to the US dollar. This has been a market that has been putting in this bullishness for some time now. I wanted to see price tap into this before delivering us with continuation bullishness, but it hasn't. So we have a lot of inefficient structure here. We have recently seen price slow down and this bullishness slow down. We have also had a 1 hour time frame break of structure. I have highlighted a demand zone here, so we could look to potentially sell from this, assuming we are delivered with the right confirmation to do so. So the zone we are looking at is between 1.2312 and 1.2326. So this could be a potential sell zone. We just need that confirmation of bearishness once we have the penetration of this zone. Okay, we have been delivered with some confluence so far with this break of structure and what looks to be the start of bearishness, but we just need a bit more confirmation before we can actually look to sell into this market longer term, because this is very much a bullish market. As you can see at the moment, we have just had an extreme higher time frame break of structure to the upside as well. So with that being said, yes, we could have price come down to grab more demand before trading higher, but unless we are delivered with the right confluence that price is putting in that bearishness, price realistically could just continue in this bearish momentum up to this supply zone here. If you've not got this supply zone highlighted, mark this out for yourself. This supply zone here is between 1.2991 and 1.3093. So highlight that zone out for yourself, as this does hold a lot of volatility, and this could be the zone that reverses this market and instigates its next bearish impulsive wave lower. So let's see how price plays this coming week. With Great British Pound to the US dollar, I am probably going to leave this market as I don't really have any confirmation of either direction. I want to see further bearishness for me to look for sells. If I'm delivered that, then maybe I'll look for sell positions. But ultimately, this is within a bullish market, so I don't really want to be trading against this current trend. But yeah, that is going to summarize my analysis for this Sunday sessions video. I hope you guys have enjoyed. It has been quite quick, quite brief. I've just given you some zones, some areas to look out for. I think that is what the main importance is of this video and of these Sunday sessions videos. If you want in-depth analysis, then head over to the Learning Lounge or join the VIP chats, because that's where I put my in-depth analysis. Or even follow me on TradingView. I also share my analysis on there. But yeah, these videos are just designed to give you zones and areas to look out for, so you guys can profit alongside me and the LAGFX team. That's my main motive here, is to give you guys tradable, placeable opportunities. As I said to you earlier, as we approach the festive period, trading opportunities are going to lessen, just because there are less fundamentals which are going to drive price in either direction. There are going to be a lot less retail traders like ourselves trading the markets, because they're going to be spending time with loved ones and families. But on top of that, banks and corporate companies, FTSE and things like that, they are also going to be trading less, because there are a lot of bank holidays over this period. So volume is going to lessen. So there may be a lack in tradable opportunities, but we'll still do our best with the volume that we do have. If you have enjoyed this video, please leave it a thumbs up. If you have any feedback, please leave them in the comments below. If there are any markets specifically that you want to see me or James analyze, leave them in the comments also, and we'll be sure to do that in the next Sunday sessions video. But yeah, with that being said, I'm wishing you all a very Merry Christmas, and we'll catch you guys in the next Sunday sessions video.